Welcome to the USMMA Sea Year Chronicles. Sea Year is an important component of the education of every midshipman. And today with me, my guest is John Cairns, who is currently at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy to give us an insider's perspective. Welcome, John. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what life is like while you're in port. It's obviously going to be different than what your typical routine at sea. So let's try and drill down and understand what that is. So when you get to the port, step one, how do you dock? How do you unload? What's your role in all of that?
Well, getting to the port is a procedure in and of itself. So it all starts when you get to the pilot station. And the pilot station is usually, if you have to go up a river, it'll be past them a little bit outside of the mouth of the river. If it's just a straight shot, it'll be outside the breakwater. But when you pick up the pilot, that's when maneuvering basically starts.
And the pilot, just to clarify, the pilot is a local who's familiar with the water and the depths and all that stuff.
Yes.
So whatever they're going to navigate, they're sort of the local expert.
Yeah, they have to. They're tested on it. They're certified. They have to make sure they know where all the rocks and stuff are. I'm not an expert on that.
Obviously, yes. Okay. Thank you.
And yeah, so maneuvering, when you maneuver into the port, and all the engineers are present in the engine room at that time to ensure pressures, temperatures, etc. are all good, and you don't lose the plant while you're close to other
That would be
vessels.
bad.
That
Yes.
would be bad. And then when you get to the dock, there's not a whole lot for us to do while they're tying the ship up. But once the captain is confident that the engine is not needed anymore, he will call down to the engine room and give us the time for FWE, which is finished with engines. So once finished with engines is called, we can start the process of shutting down the engine. So securing fuel, securing cooling water, putting steam on to keep temperatures correct, and actually shutting down the engine.
Okay.
So that's the major role we play in docking.
Okay. Now, while you're in port, is this an opportunity for maintenance as well? And is that a big chunk of what goes on while you're in port?
Absolutely. So the main engine is constantly running while you're out at sea for 2 weeks straight, and once if it's reached an hourly service that it needs, or something breaks on it, the only time to fix that is in port.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the scope of the repair, it might just be the licensed engineers down there fixing stuff. If it's a component that has a warranty on it, they have to call out technicians to fix it.
Right.
So it just depends, but it's usually pretty busy with maintenance and repairs in port.
Okay. And even as a cadet, you get to participate in these kinds of things.
Yeah. Usually you get some time ashore, but if there's something big going on, you definitely should be there.
Okay. So, what ports have you been to so far, and do you have a favorite and least favorite, or could you say a little bit about that?
Well, my first sailing, I went to quite a few ports. I went to Spain. I got off in Spain. I got off in Djibouti, Oman, Dubai, India, and then Charleston, Savannah, Houston, Norfolk, Newark. And then on my most recent ship I was on, we went to California, Guatemala, through the Panama Canal to Florida, Guyana in South America, to Greece, Norway, and then to Norfolk, where I got off.
Okay.
And out of all those ports, they're all unique. I definitely enjoyed going to Greece, going to Spain, Norway. Those were all very nice ports, but it was also very interesting to see Dubai, see India,
Mm-hmm.
Djibouti. I'm definitely grateful for those experiences as well.
Right. So really, the only ports you haven't been to are sort of the Asian ports, right, or that part of the world.
Yeah. I have not been to Southeast Asia.
Okay. Well, yeah, India is part of South, but I mean more China, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in port and the crew gets liberty, what kinds of things do you typically do?
So when the crew gets liberty, it's generally after the workday is done, there's nothing else really going on. You can go out. They definitely like to try the local food. Go see if there's any sights to see, like Greece. There's the Parthenon. You gotta go see that. Just try to, if they're outgoing, try to meet locals. See what the local things are to do.
And do you typically buddy up when you're off the ship so that you got somebody watching your back?
Absolutely. The more people, the better.
Okay. What countries have been some of your favorites to visit? And you just mentioned the Parthenon. Did you see anything else while you were in Greece?
I saw some other Greek ruins while we were there. Just a bunch of mountains and really, really pretty scenery while we were there.
And how do you get around? I mean, is there specific things that you have to do in port to get from, your ship to the exit to the port? Or, do you use local transportation? How does that all work?
It really depends on the port. But
Okay.
if you're on a container ship, they got big multi-ton boxes going everywhere. So they generally make you take the import shuttle bus or whatever they have, so you don't get squished.
That would be bad, yes.
Yeah, but if it's in more of a third world port and they don't really have the means or infrastructure to transport people around the port, you might end up walking.
Okay.
And then when you're out of the port, if you're close to town, you can just walk. If it's a fairly sketchy area, you might want to take a cab or something. And if you're going sightseeing, you might also have to take a cab.
Okay. And are there any particular forms of identification you need to take with you when you get off the ship that would allow you to get back into the port and back on the ship, or does it depend?
It depends on where you are. If you're in the United States, you need your TWIC card, which is the Transportation Worker Identification Card.
Mm-hmm.
You just show that at the port and they let you in, no problem. And then if you're overseas, you just need your passport usually.
Okay. And do you have any stories about sort of your most interesting or memorable experiences when you've gotten off the ship?
Well, I have two of those. One from each sailing. It's convenient. And my first story would be when I went to Spain for the first time. So I had only been on the ship about 10 days. Just got to Spain. I was all excited. Me and my sea partner and I went out to dinner, and we just started walking around the port we were in, and we found a town square with a real nice church, and we're like, oh, we could take a picture. So I asked the local guy, or some local guy,
Mhm.
just to take our picture. And at the time I was wearing a swimsuit, so I didn't have any pockets, so I just had my phone and wallet in my hands. So he took our picture, I gave my phone back, and then a few minutes later I looked down and realized my wallet wasn't there. So that was interesting, getting, cards canceled and getting new identification cards and all that stuff. Definitely a memorable experience.
Sounds like a headache as well.
It really was.
And your other experience that you want to?
And then my other one, I was in Mexico, and we had my sea partner and I had also gone out, and we were coming back. It was close to the border, so it's not a real good place to be walking at night, which we were, and so we thought nothing of it, just walking back to the ship, and we get stopped by some police. So we're like, oh, cool, police. This should be fine. But
Mhm.
then the police come over and tell us to empty our pockets. So me being me, I'm just giving them everything. So he looks through my wallet and finds nothing because I spent all my money. But he found my phone at the time was a pretty new phone. He looked at it and put it in his pocket and drove away. And I realized it was my phone, so that was also another.
So you got robbed by the police.
Got robbed by the police.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yes. And speaking of phones, so how do you typically communicate? I mean, when you're all around the world, do you have a special routine to communicate with people back home, or your ATR, or anybody else you might want to get in contact with?
Well, the academy actually just started issuing out Garmin GPS satellite phones. or
Satellite
whatever.
phones?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So every week you have to check in with your ATR to make sure you're okay. And if anything is going on, you can press one button and everybody knows that something's wrong, and they will do everything to get in contact with you. But normally, just to call family, friends. As long as you have an international plan, just give them a call.
Do you use a special app to make it easier, or is it just through your roaming plan?
There's a few apps. You can use FaceTime audio. You can use WhatsApp. That's a good one. But so you don't have to pay by the minute for those.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions I have on what life is like in port. So thank you very much for your time, John, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Sea Year Chronicles.